Carolina-Duke rivalry games often come down to the matchups. Hubert Davis threw some interesting wrinkles at the Blue Devils last time. Is he going to switch it up or let it ride?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, March 8th, 2024. It is my daughter's 5th birthday. Happy birthday, Poppy Ann. I love you to the moon and back. I'm so thankful to be your daddy, and I can't wait to do it for many years to come. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or your first watch. And a special shout out to all you everydayers out there. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job right now at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. It is a double episode Friday. Don't miss out on our other episode that dropped today. It's a crossover Behind Enemy Lines episode with Locked On Blue Devils host JJ Jackson. Great stuff. They're learning more about what Duke's been up to since round one. The game is tomorrow, so we'll have a live postcast immediately after that. As we always do, make plans now to be part of what will hopefully be a party. But if we have to, we'll do a therapy session as well. Either way, I'll be with you. I also want to say congrats to Coach Pat Kilby's Carl Albert High School team, who won in the Elite Eight on Thursday, and today, Friday, is playing in the Oklahoma Class 5 Final Four. Go get them, Carl Albert. That's for those of you who might be new to the show. Coach Kilby comes on our show every week, and so we just love keeping tabs on his team as well. All right, folks, here it is. The end of the regular season, North Carolina at Duke, 6:30 tonight Eastern time on ESPN. Of course, no FanDuel line yet, but right now Ken Palm actually has the Blue Devils favored by 4 points. Speaking of FanDuel, they got this great thing going on this weekend, Profit Boost tokens. You get 30% off of that, so make sure you check it out if you want to get in on the Carolina Duke action. Now, this is Carolina's first time to wrap up the regular season at Cameron since ending Coach K's regular season career. Obviously, Carolina played at Cameron last year, but it was not the regular season finale. Here's something I want to remind you heading into this game. After the loss to Syracuse, which made Carolina 2-3 in that past 5 games. Remember, the loss to Georgia Tech, the win over Duke, and on and on and on, the Clemson loss, etc. And then after that, Carolina was staring down a 6-game stretch to end the regular season, hosting Virginia Tech at Virginia, and then the 3-game home stretch, Miami, NC State, and NC State and Notre Dame, and then at Duke. And so what I said is Carolina needs to hold serve all 4 games at home and get at least one of the 2 road games. But I also said I wouldn't be mad at all about grabbing all 6 of those. And you know what the Tar Heels have done? They won all 4 of the home games. That's behind them. And they've already won one of the 2 road games. They won at Virginia. So now, in some ways, if that version of Isaac had said it, this game tomorrow would be icing on the cake. But now that we're here, obviously, we want to win this stinking thing because we don't want to share the ACC. We want this outright conference championship, right? You know it and I know it. So let's go make it happen. We want more than just 5-1 in that 6-game stretch. Let's take what's ours. So in order to start thinking about that, let's get to the matchups for this game. I want to remind you of what happened in round 1, because the way Carolina matched up with Duke was not the same way that Duke decided to match up with Carolina, interestingly enough. So let me give you both of those, how each lineup matched up, and then we'll say some other things about that. North Carolina on defense. We'll start in the front court. Armando Bacot guarded Kyle Filipowski, and Harrison Ingram guarded Mark Mitchell. But then the backcourt, that was what was expected. The backcourt was what was interesting to me and what was what I didn't really expect. Because Carolina put the length of Cormac Ryan on Tyrese Proctor. Why? Even though Tyrese Proctor is a lead point guard, Cormac Ryan has the length to match him because Proctor's 6'5", just like Cormac is. And that was the wrinkle that Coach Davis really threw at them. And I thought it was brilliant and clearly bothered Proctor a lot. We'll say more about that in a second. But then you had Elliot Cadeau on Jeremy Roach. That surprised me because of the freshman being on the savvy veteran. And then RJ Davis was on Jared McCain, which was also interesting because McCain is this knockdown sharpshooter and has some size on RJ. But as we know, it worked out pretty well for the Tar Heels. Now, a bunch of those guys got their points, but Proctor didn't. And that's what we're going to talk about soon. So for me, if I'm Hubert Davis, because of how Cormac Ryan was able to take the head off the snake with Tyrese Proctor, I wouldn't change a thing with this. I would do the exact same matchups this way. If it had not gone well, change it, flip it, whatever. That's great. But it did. So I say don't overthink it. Let Duke be the ones to overthink these matchups and mess around with stuff to see if they can get more traction this time because Carolina had the advantage. Now, if you get going and you realize it's not working this time around, sure, switch something up, but I wouldn't change it if I'm Hubert Davis. Now, Duke on defense is where it was different. The front court matched up the same as Carolina matched up with them. So Kyle Filipowski guarded Armando Bacot, Mark Mitchell guarded Harrison Ingram. But it wasn't the same in the backcourt and at the wing. Tyrese Proctor was on RJ Davis, and that was Duke's wrinkle. They wanted to bother RJ, put size on him because obviously Proctor has size on RJ. Jeremy Roach was guarding Cormac Ryan. Obviously, then Carolina had the size advantage there. And Jared McCain was on Elliot Cadeau, the two freshmen guarding each other. So really interesting. And then that sometimes, for those of you that have played, you know, when you're not guarding who's guarding you, it can cause some weird transitional things. So we watch for that. So I'm curious to see, does Duke decide to do that same thing? Because the Proctor size on RJ worked. It did. RJ got going a little bit later, but I thought that was kind of an advantage Duke. So I'm really curious to see what happens with the matchups. So watch that right out of the gate, literally right after the jump ball, who matches up with who. And speaking of Duke's personnel, let's just go ahead and say it here so we don't forget it. Caleb Foster, who was part of the backcourt depth, has been out the last couple games and will remain out for this game. We will not see him. And so that is something that's going to hurt their backcourt depth, which is critical if Proctor or Roach, for example, or even McCain gets in some foul trouble. So keep your eyes on that. So with these matchups, here's the two things I want to look at, one for each team. Number one, on the Carolina side, can RJ find more space for himself this time? This is also the moment where I'd like to remind us that regardless of what happens in RJ's play on Saturday night, this young man from White Plains, New York, was left off the All-ACC preseason teams. Was not on the first team, was not on the second team. Now, you and I know this. Not only will he make it on the first team, he will be the team because this man, regardless of what happens at Cameron on Saturday night, is going to be the ACC Player of the Year. It's been an unreal season. Now, will it be a unanimous vote? I don't know. But putting a final exclamation point on the regular season sure could help achieve that. So just watch out for that side of things. Just how many votes is RJ going to win? Having a big game in Cameron is going to help that. But as a reminder, in the game one, he was just 5 of 14 from the field. He did shoot 2 of 3 from 3, but he only took 3 attempts. That's interesting. And was 5 of 6 at the free throw line. So got to the free throw line a good little bit there. And interestingly, he had 4 of Carolina's first 6 points. That was 2 of his 5 field goals in the first couple minutes of the game and 4 of his 17 points. But here's what I love about RJ. How often have we said this year? The superstar that he is, he does not have to force it too much. And I know that was an inefficient 5 of 14, but hear this side of it. RJ went out just like he's been doing lately. 5 assists in that game, 0 turnovers. That's the young man that we know and love that is willing to do whatever for this team. Remember, he was on the ground in that game, scraping after loose balls to gain possession. RJ will do whatever it is. So what I'm looking for is RJ going to rise up and have an electric game despite the size, if Duke decides to put that size on him again? Or will he play more of a supporting, facilitating role like he did for the majority of the last game? And then further with that second thing, here's the question. If he is playing more of a supportive role, who steps up this time? Obviously, Mondo had a massive game last time. We'll talk more about that. But kind of the unexpected things that were happening, two of them key to me, were Harrison Ingram's, just knocking down everything. 5 of 9 from 3. It felt like he could not miss. I know he missed some. I think it was 8 of 12 overall, if I remember correctly. It just felt like everything he took went in, and it was glorious. And then also, let's not forget Seth Trimble, who contributed a key 10 points off the bench. Like, if RJ's facilitating, he's going to need something like that to happen again. Whether it's one of those guys again, or Cormac or Elliot or whomever, let's see it happen. So if RJ's locked out, who steps up? Someone's got to do it. Now, this cuts both ways, though, because that's the RJ Davis side of it. While RJ was held down by his standards, he still had 17 points. Tyrese Proctor, though, he was a non-entity in this game. Not only did he not shoot well, he did basically nothing. 1 of 6 from the field, 0 3-point attempts. Not only that he didn't make one, he didn't shoot one. Didn't get to the free throw line, only had, I think, 2 assists and 1 turnover. So he wasn't facilitating. He wasn't pulling from deep, which is a key part of his arsenal. Because why? Cormac's able to run him off the 3-point line. That's so important. So my question is, just like Duke's going to look to hold RJ down again, can Carolina cut the head off the snake again and not let Proctor be a scorer or facilitator? That is critical. However, progression to the mean says no. Law of averages, he's probably going to have a better game this game. So the key is, assuming he does have a better game, can you still limit how much better it is? That's key. But Carolina has shut him down once before. Why not do it again? Let's watch out for that. Let's make Tyrese Proctor once again a non-entity in this game. Now, we talked about RJ, we talked about Tyrese Proctor, but it was Armando Bacot who led all scorers regardless of team in game 1. No reason that script can't be the same. We're going to talk about that and the rest of our Four Corners preview coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you that this episode's brought to you by Amazon Fire TV, which is your destination for sports, for live games, to highlights, to in-depth analysis. From all that, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV to provide you millions of movies and TV episodes. So whether it's March Madness or opening weekend for baseball coming up, you're going to want to have a Fire TV, like I do at Shady Acres, which is what we call our house. I have Amazon Fire Sticks on literally every TV in my house, and it's what I'll be watching the Carolina Duke game with tomorrow because I love the layout. I love the user experience. I even love the remote for it. For those of you watching, I'm holding it up right now. It's easy. My kids can work it. It's got little buttons for Prime and Netflix and Disney Plus and Hulu. It's great. You can go right there. Plus, Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free, including all of us here at the Locked On Network. Not to mention, they also have great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. So check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't done so, you should. Trust me on that. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. It's time for our Four Corners preview, getting ready for 4 specific things that I am watching for in this game. And it starts right in the middle of the paint where Carolina has to dominate the matchup at the center position, at the 5 position. In game 1, Armando Bacot was the leading scorer in that game, 25 points on 10 of 13 shooting. That's wildly efficient shooting from Armando. And why did that happen? Because Kyle Filipowski is guarding him. Duke doesn't have a true 5, and they got nothing for Armando. And it's not just Armando. It's other true centers like Armando. On Monday, Duke beat NC State at NC State. But DJ Burns went off in that game. NC State just played through him all game long. He had a season high in points. Again, Flip had nothing for DJ Burns. He's got nothing for Armando Bacot on defense. So unless Duke's going to do something to him, Armando's going to eat yet again. And if Duke does decide they want to do something differently and wrinkled on Armando, guess what that does? That you can't do that to Armando and RJ. So you got to pick your poison, John Shire. And I don't think you want to have to make either of those choices. So make your choice, but then you're going to have to live with it. Because if you choose double and Armando, RJ is going to burn you. If you choose RJ, here's Armando Bacot again. I love it. But Carolina has to actually go out and do it. They can't just assume, oh, we're going to win one of these matchups. So here's what I'm watching for. Does Duke try to attack Armando differently than they did in round one? Let me give you a couple things to watch for with that. Number one, double teams. Duke did bring some what I would call token double teams last time. They dug a little bit, which is where you kind of flash like you're coming down to double team. But typically it was just a show, just a flash, and then they'd pull back. It wasn't like a hard Virginia double team where they're all on you like white on rice, you know? And then if Armando just simply makes a quick move, whether it's to the basket or to pass, Duke's in rotation at that point and advantage Carolina. Another thing to watch for beyond the doubles is one of Duke's players, one of Duke's freshmen, I should say specifically, has started to come on a little bit more lately. And it's a front court player named Sean Stewart, who is a 6'9", 227-pound freshman. Still not fully the size for Armando, but it's another body that they have, and that's been doing some work for them. He only played just a little bit over a minute in the first game, but he's been getting more minutes and being productive for Duke lately. So that is just another body to watch. Another thing is Ryan Young, who is a grad student for Duke. That is a bigger body, but Armando just took him to school in game one. So Armando should and needs to dominate this game again for the Tar Heels, but we'll watch to see what kind of wrinkles Duke has for it. Number two in our Four Corners preview is Duke's three-point shooting. Round one, Carolina. Fantastic job beyond three. Duke shot just 5 of 19, 26.3%. It was their third lowest three-point field goal percentage in a game this season, and one of just 5 times this season that they've been held to making 5 or fewer threes. They've never made fewer than 4 all season long. Since then, well, after Carolina, Duke played Notre Dame. They only hit 4 in that game. But in the 8 games that have followed that Notre Dame game, Duke has hit double-digit threes in 5 of those 8 games. And the ones they didn't, they hit 6, 7, and 9. So Duke is a team that unleashes it beyond the three-point arc. And here's something we got to remember. I know Carolina finally, got a win against Notre Dame in the first half on threes where the Irish just hit 1 of 8. But prior to that, Carolina had troubles against both Miami and NC State in the first half, allowing three-point shooting. So the Tar Heels got to do a great job of running Duke off the three-point line. You can live with a couple twos if it means Duke's not bombing away from three. So we'll watch for that. Now, here's the problem. Just like I said, law of averages suggests that Proctor's going to have a better game. Same thing is true here because of what a good three-point shooting team Duke is. They are first in the ACC and 13th nationally in three-point field goal percentage. So we expect them to rebound and have a better shooting game. But the question, again, just like Tyrese Proctor, is, you hope to hold them down completely again. But more importantly, if they are shooting better, how can you mitigate it? Running them off the three-point line, getting out, not going underneath screens, all of these kind of things to slow down that three-point attack. Speaking of attack, number 3 in our Four Corners preview, Carolina needs to attack and get to the free throw line. Looking back at the free throw numbers from the first game of this matchup, Carolina had 25 free throw attempts, Duke just 11. Carolina more than doubled up Duke in attempts and exactly doubled up Duke in makes. Carolina was 18 of 25. Duke was 9 of 11. It's that classic thing we're always looking for Carolina to make more free throws than their opponent attempts. And that's exactly what happened. The other reason it's good to attack is because what do you see when that happens? You're getting Kyle Filipowski in foul trouble. You're getting Mark Mitchell or the guards in foul trouble, eating into Duke's depth. So that's what you want to see. Duke Flip had 4 fouls last time. I believe Caleb Foster, I know he's not playing, but fouled out last game. It's those kind of things that Carolina needs to do. And here's what encourages me about it. You see how Elliot Cadeau has been attacking the rim lately. You saw how Cormac attacked the rim against Notre Dame. Let's do that again in this game. Let's get the ball into Armando and put Flip in compromising situations in the post where he either has to foul or just let Mondo score. That's what I want to see. So attack, get to the free throw line, make more than Duke attempts. And then finally in our Four Corners preview is this. Assist to turnovers for the Tar Heels and Duke, quite frankly. We've been talking a good deal in the last couple shows, I guess, this week about Carolina's strong assist to turnover ratio as a team. And a lot of that, I mean, yes, they do share the ball well, but a lot of it is because of their low turnover percentage. Carolina has a turnover percentage under 15%. It's 14.3 right now. What that means, just simply, is that Carolina only commits a turnover on 14.3% of their possessions. Now, where does that factor in? Is that good? Is it bad? I'll just say this. In the Ken Pom era, which dates back to 1998-99, the Tar Heels have never had a turnover percentage under 15% for the season. And right now they're at 14.3. It's that good. In fact, in round one, let's go back to the numbers from that one. Carolina had 18 assists to just 5 turnovers. That was tied for a season low in turnovers for Carolina. And not to mention that in back-to-back games that the last 2 games they've played, Notre Dame and NC State, they had only 8 turnovers against State and just 6 against Notre Dame. So Carolina's been doing a great job taking care of the ball yet again, and they're in a good place heading into this matchup with Duke. And you expect, in a road environment, it's going to be a little bit tougher, right? That 8-6 NC State and Notre Dame and the 5 previously against Duke, that's all at home where it's a little bit easier. So you got to have a heightened awareness of taking care of the ball, not letting the crowd get you all rattled and stuff. And so Carolina getting that 18 assists to just 5 turnovers in game 1. Let's look at the Duke side of it, where Duke had just 8 assists and 11 turnovers. So they had more turnovers than assists in that first game. Carolina forced them to play a lot of individual basketball. Those 8 assists, they had 35 made baskets. And again, only assisted on 8 of them. Let's do that again. Carolina, lots of sharing, not much turning over. Duke, not much sharing, lots of turning over. That's what we want to see. A high assist to turnover ratio for Carolina, a negative assist to turnover ratio for the Blue Devils. And so if that is replicable, Carolina is going to be in great shape. I just mentioned that hostile Cameron environment. So I want to say some more words about what exactly it takes to go in there and hold your medal and come out with a victory. And one of the things that could help that, a fast start sure wouldn't hurt. We'll talk about that right after I tell you that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs, which helps have the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Thankfully, LinkedIn's not just some other job board. They've got a vast network of over 1 billion professionals, making it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you just can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process really easy and intuitive for you. And hiring, when you have that many quality candidates, really is easy. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Beyond that, LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire well, so they're constantly finding ways to make this process easier for you. For example, they just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions. How great is that? So post your job for free right now at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's well known to us as Hansbrough Indoor Stadium, a place where Tyler Hansbrough literally never lost in his 4 years. One of the keys in any time you go in a road environment, a true road environment, is to get a good start, a hot start. Take the crowd out of it, take the wind out of the sails of the home team, and build yourself a cushion. Because while I said earlier, like Ken Pom favors Duke by 4, how much is that home court advantage worth? Is it worth 5 points, meaning you're actually kind of down 5 already when you start? There's just something to the magic of some of these types of venues. And Hansbrough Indoor Stadium is no stranger to that. So what do? You get off to a hot start. One of the ways you could take advantage of that is by remembering that this is going to be senior day for Duke. Now, the Tar Heels just went through senior day on Tuesday, and quite frankly, we talked about it. They handled it marvelously. A lot of that is the experience. Multiple Tar Heels had already gone through a senior day, whether it's Armando Bacot, who went through it last year, or Cormac Ryan at Notre Dame, Paxton Wojcik at Brown, these kind of things. Carolina has guys who not only have experienced senior day, they've got seniors who have already been through a senior day. So they know how to handle it. They know what to do. They know how to control the emotion. Duke, they don't have that much in terms of seniors who will go through senior day who make a big impact or who play a ton. Jeremy Roach is the key cog in that wheel. So who knows how he will be handling that emotion. Obviously, Ryan Young is a grad, but he, we'll see how many minutes he gets. He'll be on the bench long enough where that'll probably subside. So can Carolina take advantage of that, knowing like Duke might be reeling a little bit from some of these senior day experiences, or maybe the young guys who, while they've played a lot of big time minutes in high school and even this year in their freshman year of college, maybe just the emotion of that day is too big or too overwhelming. I don't know if it will be, but if there's any creak in that door, if there's any just moment to slip through and stun them, Carolina's got to take advantage and use their experience to do so. Because at some point in this game, Duke will make a push, maybe even multiple. That Cameron crowd's going to make an impact. That the refs will be favorable on close calls to the home team because that's what happens. Less so with Shire than they were with K, but still, you get the point. So to me, then that means what Carolina really needs to do is come out guns blazing and build a lead early if you can. And that's exactly what happened in round one. So let's look at how we can replicate some of that. Just like last time, get out and run and finish at the rim. Carolina did that great in building a quick and early lead. Just like last time, be disruptive defensively. Carolina did a great job of doing that without fouling, and that is so key. Be disruptive defensively, maintain verticality, use your feet to stay in front of guys, run them off the three-point line, but don't foul dribble penetration. Just like last time, be the aggressor. I thought that Carolina really took it to Duke last time, and I thought Duke was hit back on their heels a little bit, and I pardon the pun there. And so I want to see Carolina be the aggressor again, really go get it. Again, we said it earlier, but take this conference championship. That is ours. If you want that, be the aggressor, be this tough, gritty team that you've been all year. No reason to stop now. Just like last time, be quicker to 50-50 balls. I love seeing RJ diving on the floor to get it, maintain, or steal possession for the Tar Heels. All of these things, Carolina did so well. And they realize that they need to be the best version of the Tar Heels. They've got to do all these little things well, because all those little things add up to some really big things. And to get this victory, that's what's going to happen. So start big, get a lead, and then just keep on pushing. Why? Part of this is because you don't want to be playing catch up on the road, particularly at Duke. But I will say this. Let's say a couple words in case Carolina does get behind. If you do get behind, don't rush. Do what you know you need to do. If you do get behind, do not start playing hero ball. That's what led to Duke only having 8 assists on those 35 field goals last time. They started trying to do it all themselves. If you do get behind, don't abandon the paint. Keep going to Armando, because that's a big advantage for the Tar Heels. It's similar to like a football team that gets behind and then forgets that they need to run the ball to balance it between that and passing. Don't abandon Armando if you get behind. If you do get behind, don't start overly relying on the three. Shoot them when they're there and you need to take them, but get to the rim as well. And if you do get behind, perhaps most importantly, rely on the experience that you have. Just like against Notre Dame on Tuesday, this is the superiorly experienced team, the Tar Heels over Duke. Use that to your advantage. And one other X factor. I know Coach Rob and I both talked about Elliot Cadeau being a critical X factor in this game, but which bench is going to produce more capably? I want it to be the Tar Heels. In round one, that was Seth Trimble, as we talked about earlier, scoring 10 points. But whether it's Seth or Jalen Washington or Jalen Withers, or maybe even a little Paxton Wojcik sprinkled in, or a combination of any or all of those guys doing anything from little things to help the team win to scoring buckets, be the bench that provides more. That just is always a winning scenario. Allow RJ and Mondo and Cormac and Elliot and Harrison to catch some breathers. And so just live up to that expectation. So we'll see who's going to win the bench battle. Could be another critical X factor. All right, let's quickly get to our weekend whip around before we get out of here. Saturday at 6:30 Eastern cannot come soon enough. Like I'm so ready for it to happen. Good grief. All right. Weekend whip around the rest of Carolina athletics this weekend. Unfortunately, the women's basketball team lost their first game in the ACC tournament to Miami on Thursday, 60-59. And it stinks because the ladies had a 14-point lead with just 2.5 minutes left before halftime, 34-20. Miami went on a 10-3 closing run in that final 150 seconds to close out the half and cut the lead to 7. Miami just kept, the teams kind of stayed close through the third quarter. Miami takes a 5-point lead with just over 2 to go in the game. Carolina goes on a little 4-0 run to cut it to 60-59, and there's still a minute 54 to go. So you're feeling great. But if you remember, I just said the final score was 60-59. And here's why. But from that point, the final minute 54 of the game, nobody scored. Neither team scored again. Lots of missed shots and turnovers. Really unfortunate stuff. So now we have to sit and wait and see what Selection Sunday will hold for the Tar Heels. Now, let's get on to the rest of the teams this weekend. Let's go first to the Diamond. Baseball is hosting Pitt Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday at 4, Saturday at 2, Sunday at 1. All of those are on ACC Network Extra. Staying on the Diamond, the women are hosting Virginia Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday at 5, Saturday at 1, Sunday at noon. All of those also on ACC Network Extra. Both tennis teams are in action this weekend. Both have a double dip, both at home. Lots of home action going on. The women play Georgia Tech today, Friday at 2, and then Clemson tomorrow also at 2. As for the men, they host Virginia later today at 5. Virginia's number 3 in the nation, so that'll be a tough one. And then on Sunday, number 65, Virginia Tech at 1 p.m. Eastern. Speaking of getting into ACC championship and tournament time, wrestling has the ACC championships going on this weekend in Carmichael. Great stuff there. It'll be on ACC Network and ACC Network Extra on Sunday. Both lacrosse teams are in action. Women are at number 20 Clemson. That's 3 o'clock on ACC Network Extra. I forgot to write down what day that is. Forgive me. And then the men's team is at Hofstra on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Flow Sports. I think we had to watch that one time when the basketball team played somebody from some conference. I don't remember when it was. Men's golf is at the John Haight Collegiate Invitational. That's down in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, the Sawgrass Country Club. That'll be Saturday and Sunday. Track has the NCAA Indoor Championships. That's up in Boston. It started yesterday, Thursday, and goes through Saturday. Fencing has the NCAA Regionals. That's up in the same area of the country, Madison, New Jersey. And that starts Saturday at 8 a.m. and goes on. Swimming, NCAA Zone B Diving Championships. That's down in Athens, Georgia. That's where UGA is. That starts Sunday and goes all the way through Wednesday. And then gymnastics hosts Kentucky tonight, 7:30 on ACC Network Extra. And that'll be senior night. So really interesting stuff there. All right, guys, do not forget, after the game tomorrow, we will have a live postcast as we always do. If you are not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, I'm just telling you, as always, you're missing out. You want to be part of that game day thread tomorrow. It is going to be alive and happening. The link's in the show notes. Free to join. Come be part of it. If you haven't subscribed to the show itself on YouTube and audio, man, now's the time to do it. It's super easy on YouTube. Just hit subscribe. While you're doing that, smash the like button so we know you're here. And also, if you hit that little bell, it'll give you a notification on your devices when I go live after the game tomorrow. So do that as well. Folks, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Cannot wait to talk immediately after the game. Tomorrow, make sure you join us for that live postcast, and then again on Monday for our full follow-up show. But until then, peace.